Hey everyone, welcome on into ClayShareCon. I'm Jessica Putnam-Phillips, and oh my goodness, we have a world premiere ready for you right now. We have the world premiere of the brand new Fluting Tools from Diamond Core Tools, and Nikolai Bush is going to show you all how to use them. And I don't want to take up any of his time, so I'm going to go right to Nikolai. So let's go see what he's up to. Hey Nikolai, how are you doing this happy Friday?
Happy Friday. Super excited to show you what we got. It is the world premiere of our new fluting tools and pretty excited about these. So we got three new ones, three new shapes, and they're going to be, I've been using them for about a month now and they're a lot of fun. They kind of take our X series to the next level. So before we get any further, let me switch you around and I will start going over a few things. All right, so today I'm going to be carving just this large kind of vase thing. It's a planter. Let's see there. It is, so real quick, I did trim through, so if you do see that hole, that's what's going on. That happens to everyone. But it's going to be great because it'll fit them. And let's see here. I think before I show you the new shapes, I want to just remind everyone, if you're not familiar with our fluting tools, kind of what they do. And I'm going to be using I use these little tiles all the time to kind of demonstrate some stuff. If you've been to our booth at Ensika or stop by the shop, we use these all the time. Some of our existing shapes we do have, you may have seen it. So this is like the X1. It's a V-tip. And just to show you the difference, because I want to make sure everyone kind of knows what to look for. I'm going to carve just a line with our normal P1. So this is our regular P1 carving tool. Makes nice line. So I think everyone is probably familiar with that. What's important that I want to point out is these edges are sharp. So you get a really clean cut through there. But these edges are sharp, and the difference that the X1 makes, or all the fluting tools makes, is they kind of flex and conform over those edges. So when I carve with this one, you're going to get a much smoother and kind of softer burnished shape. And these edges are going to be rounded. So they're completely rounded and kind of blended into the side. So that's the main difference. When you look at like just a V-tip, that's the main difference between like a carving tool and our fluting tools. Overall, they affect a larger area. And so I don't always recommend, it's not like a fine point tool, or yesterday we were doing a lot of very detailed carving. This is going to be a much larger, more general kind of shape carving, but you can get a lot of small details with some patterns that you can create. And that's what I'll show you. So there we go. That's the main difference between the X tools. And today I'm going to do another one. Today we've got three new ones. So the X7, we currently go up to set 6. The X7 is going to be a 6mm square. So this is one that we couldn't quite get out before, and I'm really excited about it because I do like using a lot of our square tools. They're kind of a unique shape. They give your whole piece a very unique look. And I'll pull a line through this. So this is going to leave a square line, but again, look for these burnished, smooth, rounded edges. Now X7 and X8 are the real fun ones. So X8 and X9 are the real fun ones. So X8 is what we call a W. And when I carve with this one, you're going to get this groove with a little bump in the middle of it. So
yeah, that's cool.
Hopefully you can see in there. So it's very, very small, but of course you can imagine all the glazes and the stains that'll go in there, and all the different patterns you can create. X9 is similar, but we call it a double V. And instead of having like kind of two little U lines, it's going to be two V lines with a bigger bump in the middle. So it'll look kind of like that. So it's almost like a little decorative ornamental shape. And these are just their natural carving grooves. And so we really wanted to kind of see how intricate of a groove we could make. And these are the three that we came up with. And I'll show you how I will layer them and put them together. So that's the main image there. Before I even, and again, I will get to the piece, but I just kind of want to show a couple more things on these tiles because they really do a good job of explaining things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to divide that piece up, and I think I'll divide it into 6 sections and then show 6 different patterns that you can create with these. A lot of what I'll be doing is you can either do like straight lines, you can do curvy lines, and then you can also kind of crisscross these grooves, and that's going to create sort of layered patterns and, you know, a lot of texture on the side of the piece. Really quick, I do have a finished part of this. You know, I'll save the finish till the end. So if I do, you'll see it. Whenever I'm carving with these, and this is an important reminder, you want to make sure you carve at a low. You're really pulling these through, and you want them to kind of submerge their blades under the clay. So it's a little bit different than a P tool, where you want to, you know, you're just kind of scooping this. The fluting tools, and you could even hold them kind of like this. You really want to just pull them at this low angle and let that blade submerge. So it's not going to go too deep. And that's one of the features about these is they're made to kind of bottom out. And even when that blade is fully submerged, I'm pushing into the clay right now, but it's not going to go any deeper. So even once you're in there, you can apply a fair amount of pressure down, and you're not going to go too deep. Whereas some of the other carving tools, you need to control that depth with how far you're pushing in, and as you pull out. These are just going to glide along very evenly. So that's what enables you to do like very long, even grooves without having to control the depth. As I push in, it's important to kind of, you're almost scooping into the clay. I don't want to just like push the tip in. So there is a little bit of flex. These blades are so thin, they cut like butter. And you want to use that flex once that blade is submerged. So I'm not going to push in that way. I'm going to pull it in. Let me hold this here, pull it in, and then I can push. And that's what's going to leave a really clean, the more you push that cleaner edge you're going to get. So those are just kind of some things to look for and some tips when you're using these. It'll really give you the result that the tools are intended to do. Okay, so we'll move to this. First things first is, I think, to get a nice division, I'm going to use a trimming spinner on the top, and I'm going to divide this into 6 pieces or 6 sections. And to do that, I'm going to use this little orange circle. So if you're not familiar with the trimming spinner, it's just a quick tool to divide your piece into different sections. And so the little orange circle here corresponds to 1/6 or 6 lines. And there's going to be 6 orange lines going around this piece. And all I do is I use the back of the tool again, and I just give a little dot where those orange lines are. I'm not super picky about, you know, how I do it, and that's why I just kind of give a little dot, and that gives me a reference point later on. There we go. So all I did there was, you can see, just have a real little dot. And so now I know I have 6 even divisions across the piece. And I think what'll be neat about this is I'm going to use the X7, which is that square, and I'm going to do some straight lines coming upwards to sort of make this, you know, right now this is obviously very round, but it'll kind of give this octagonal sectional look to it. And I'm going to carve right through that dot that I made. I'll start right at the bottom. This is the same clay I was using yesterday. It's an Aardvark B-Mix. It is on the little bit thicker side, so it's probably around a 1/4 inch, if not just a hair thinner. These X tools, you'll get used to the thickness they require. It's not, you don't necessarily need to throw that much thicker. Again, they're not going to go too deep, but they're going to stay at that consistent depth. And so if you have a wall that varies in thickness, you may want to watch out if on a corner or if in some area it gets thinner, the tool is going to be the same depth all the way through there. So I'm going to carve, and hopefully I'm good on this one. I'm going to carve here. And again, now that that blade's submerged, I'm pushing down. I'll carve out like that. And so I'm going to stop right at the top here. And I'm going to turn, do this a few more times. One more. There we go. So now we are divided into 6 equal sections. I really like, so again, I just prefer the squares a lot, but I really like how much this 6mm one really divides these sections. So you can create some very unique, obvious sort of patterns, obvious sections here. And now I'm going to try and do each one of these little faces. I'm going to do some unique pattern. And I'm going to start with the 7 again. So I'm going to keep using this one. And instead of going up and down, I'm going to do some diagonal lines. Try and decide which way to do it here. So I'm going to attempt to go from this corner over to this corner. And before I do more, so another reason I like the squares is you can get these really crisp where these two overlap. I don't even really need to smooth this out too much because they leave a smooth line, but you get these really crisp kind of corners. And if I can look right, you can see the beveled edge or sort of rounded edge. It's very soft. So again, I'm all about those little details, but that just shows you how smooth these tools are. And when you are really careful about overlapping them, you can create a lot of nice textures and shapes. And that's what I'm going for. So I'm going to go right next to this one. Try not to overcut and go straight. Just like that. There you go. Soften a few of these up. So you can definitely tell like these tools are great for like larger pieces. If you're trying to create a much larger pattern, they do cut a fairly large groove. But that doesn't mean that you need to necessarily always use them on large pieces. So right now I'm doing lines. A couple of other patterns I will do will be like little kind of chips, and you'll see that you can actually do that on smaller stuff. On this one, I'm going to do one line going the opposite direction. We'll go like this. And when I cross over these, there'll be a little bit of kind of drag you'll see, but as long as I'm not pushing too hard, it won't be too bad. And then you just want to watch out because when you're crossing over, it's kind of like hard to pull, easy to pull. And I just want to make sure I stay nice and even like that. This clay is on the softer side. So these tools are definitely better on the leather hard side of things, kind of soft leather hard. Maybe like a piece of chocolate that you forgot about in your pocket for 10 minutes. So it's not
Pocket warm chocolate.
A little bit of warm chocolate. So you really get like a nice clean line there.
I think that's really important, though. The consistency or dryness level of your clay is a huge factor in your success when you're doing things like carving and trimming and stuff. So the fluting works better when it's a little softer, but the relief carving works better when it's a bit drier. So knowing those things can make a big difference for someone.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it'll be that much easier. You'd be struggling one way or another. So this is okay. So this is our first pattern. Just kind of a simple diamond, but you can create like a very three-dimensional shape using these tools. And so each one of these diamonds, has a very nice beveled, sharp edge all the way around. I might give this, a second to dry more, and then you could do a very light sponge pass, maybe to clean it up a little bit, but it's honestly not too bad, just as it is. So the next section, I'm going to do the same thing, but with the X7. And again, start at the corner. And actually, I think what I'll do is I'm going to do 2 sections with these because I want to show what it's like without crossing over. Pull this one. So nice single long. So again, this one you can see that single line in there. It's a very, very thin little bead running through the middle. And I'm going to pull this one just a little bit closer. Like that. And so what I'm watching for is when I place the tool on here, I'm trying not to touch this back edge because I don't want to dent it or anything. I really want all these sections to sort of stay separate. There we go. So just some really interesting. Again, like if you space these out more, it's going to look a little bit different. If you go closer together, it'll look a little bit different. So definitely encourage you to just try all sorts of stuff. There we go. So I'll leave that one just like that. This is the X7. And over on this side, I will do, sorry, that was the X8. Over on this side, I'll do the X9. And I think I'll go this way. And again, this one's similar, but it does look different. You get a much larger sort of raised bead in the middle. Oops. And what I like about these tools are just different to use. Obviously, if you're doing like a fine point or a relief carving, piece, you can spend a lot of time in a little area. And what I like about these is you can cover a lot of space pretty quickly. And if you have a lot of cups to go through or a lot of large things, you can just make some neat designs, but really cover a lot of ground. There we go. So that's going to be the 9. And so compared to the 8, the 8 definitely has this kind of smaller, more detailed look. They're similar, but the 9 is a little bit larger bead. technically the bottom of each of these grooves is a little V, so it doesn't really have too much space in there. Whereas this one, you do have more of like a bottom of the groove, just with a little bump.
I love it.
Okay. So those are kind of just your plain lines. What I'll do on the next one is, for example, on this 6, I'm going to do some little tiny cuts. So you don't have to do long lines. This is going to be some real little, I'm trying to go in and then out.
Ooh, is it going to be kind of like a basket weave?
Kind of like basket weave. So, and again, depending on how you space these, how close together, you can change the look. But I think this one does look a lot like a basket weave. I think the closer you can get them, better it looks. And then you kind of can practice that taper in and out. And
what I love about this pattern that you're doing, Nikolai, is a lot of folks think to do fluting and carving, they need to have tons of practice and years of experience, but you're doing one stroke. You're just going in, pulling across, and then coming out. So really, someone just starting out with carving could replicate, well, honestly, all the designs you're showing, but this one, and it looks much more complicated once it's done than the actual carving is.
No, these are really easy. That's kind of the fun thing, is if I'm not looking to like think a lot, or you just want to, I don't know, sit by a fire and watch something, you can do this almost without thinking. Like you're doing a very, very simple cut. The tool does all the work. And you end up with something that looks, again, very intricate and detailed. Hardly no experience required. Yeah, the only thing to keep in mind with this is to pull that blade into the clay. Don't push it in. It doesn't really cut pushing down. So that's just an important, once you get that feel, because it's a different carving motion and feel than some other carving tools. Once you get that motion down, I mean, it's really, really easy. You can just keep doing this all day. This pattern is super fun. Looks a lot like a basket. And then, of course, so we do have like a 3mm and a 1mm square. And so you could kind of switch between them if you wanted this basket pattern to look smaller or bigger, or do, layer them. Again, it's the exact same motion, and just switch between a couple of the tools, and you'll end up with a really neat pattern. Okay, next one. So on this one, I think this is going to be actually, I'm going to go with the 8. I'm going to do the same thing. So the same exact motion, except vertically, and this will be with the X8. So I'm just doing these short little kind of, I don't know, it's like wood chips, or these short little cuts. So just vertically. And then I'm going to alternate them. And I am trying to stay fairly close together on these as well. So it's the same carving motion, but a drastically different pattern. So different tool, different orientation, but completely different. And again, this is the same tool. So you could alternate tools in between each line or each little chip that you take out. Those are just ideas. It's a very easy, motion to do, but the more you alternate tools, or, you could make each little chip a little bit longer, it's going to completely change the pattern that you're making. A lot of cool patterns you can make with these. There we go.
Love it.
So we'll do one more. And this one is going to be, I'm going to use the X9, and I'm going to do the same like little crisscross that I did here, except with the X9. Hopefully we get something neat. I'm going to go corner to corner. Stay a little bit closer this time. Okay, so that's one direction. And you can even see like between these lines, which are fairly close together compared to this over here, the only difference is the spacing between each line. And so here you just kind of create, a bump in itself over each one. And now I'm going to go opposite corner in the opposite direction. And again, similar to like the first one I did, I want to be careful, like bumping all through these. It's, just be careful dragging, because it's going to kind of stop and give you more resistance. But as long as you're just gentle with it, you should get a neat effect. And this is just going to create kind of a crosshatch pattern, but with a little bit more detail. And this is like almost the perfect consistency where I'm not, dragging and getting too much smush here. If it was just a tad drier, you might get a little bit better, but again, I'm pretty happy with where it's at.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah. So, and you can tell, you vary that a little bit, the spacing and everything, you're going to get a completely different pattern. And almost any glaze you put on this is going to be interesting. So it doesn't even need to be a clear or celadon or transparent or anything. You could put an interesting glaze that breaks on every single one of these bumps. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, because your texture's so deep, it's going to look amazing no matter what you put on it.
No matter what you do. So hard to mess these up. So this is a new one. So there you go. That's 6 different patterns with the 3 new tools. And there's a ton more you could do. One thing that I'll take a few more minutes. One thing I like to do is say, you don't have to be done here. So this is a really easy thing. Almost anyone could pick up these tools and create any of these patterns very easily. But one thing that you can do is don't forget to come back and maybe add some other shapes. So use some other tools. And one thing I'll do is if we go to a P1, so something I do like to do is I'll use some of our other carving tools, and I'll use the shape of the blade itself to sort of cut a single piece out of these raised kind of 3-dimensional surface textures. So on this one, I'm going to use the P1 and we'll see how this looks. I'm just going to push down and pull that out. And the reason I'm using the P1 is because you just can get a kind of a clean triangular shape. Just like that. So basically turning, you're turning a diamond into a little X thingy. And it's not, again, this is not hard at all. All you're doing is just kind of cutting a single shape. I'll do it on a few more of these. And you could do this with a small, like U-shaped tip, and you'd get something different. You could do it with a small little square tip, you'd get something different. I'm just going to do it with this V-tip. So always think about, like, if you want to, sometimes you can use the fluting tools to sort of create like a little sculptural surface and then go back and add some dots or some little details. And you'd be surprised how even just adding a simple cut, all I'm doing is just pushing in and pulling out a little chunk. That adds a lot of detail by the end. So always experiment with, trying all sorts of stuff. All right, one more side. There we go. So we went from little diamonds to this kind of cool little diamond X shape. I don't know. It reminds me of some like medieval.
It's kind of like a fleur-de-lis. Yeah, I love it.
So again, really pretty easy. Anyone could just pick up these tools, do some cross hatches, and then cut some little triangles. And you just get this really intricate 3D pattern in the front. So that's one little bonus. The last little bonus I will throw in is, and this is something, so these X tools, they're not for trimming. Definitely do not use them to trim. However, every once in a while, it's just something that I do is after I'm trimming, I will use them on the wheel and I will just add a single line going around a piece. And so you can end up with something kind of like this. So this is on some like recycled clay, but you can end up with like a perfectly concentric, very interesting little texture. And you can see that is the X8 there. So again, they're not for actually trimming, but if you want to use them on like a banding wheel or something, you don't have to go very fast, but you can get a perfect ring going around your piece and get a very intricate little texture. So this is one of the done pieces. This was a pit fired piece over the weekend. And so these lines were done that way on the wheel. So that's how I got this, perfect continuous line that just goes across. This was
nice because
you can like set where your carving is going to be. You could do a line at the top, line at the bottom, and then it kind of bookends your carving, and you can keep it in the center. And
yeah,
I really love it.
Exactly. So that's what I did here, and you know, it makes a nice, like, it kind of adds to your foot. It is like a nice little bookend, and then you can kind of do whatever you want at the top. So again, that's just a fun little thing to try. Like, you got to be a little brave to sort of use them on the wheel. But again, once you kind of get the feel for it, you'll get some really cool effects. Yeah, so I think that's kind of like the main stuff I wanted to show today, and pretty excited about these new shapes that we got. They're available now. So all of our X tools, they're 42 a piece. And then this set, this is our fluting set 3. You'll find it on our X tool page. It's 109. And then now we do have the X tool diamond set, and that's going to be all 9 tools. So if you really wanted to get into these, go for the diamond set. Get them all.
All right. Nikolai, I love it. It's great. I'm so excited to get to see those for the first time ever. World premiere of the new fluting tools. So thank you so much for being a part of ClayShareCon this year, and for Diamond Core Tools for being part of ClayShareCon. Again, we love you guys. And I'm going to thank you while I get you for the huge, generous sponsorship you've done with the giveaways. So
thank you so much. To put something good out there. So
yeah, thank you. All right, everyone.
You can catch this on replay in a little bit and go back and watch Nikolai do all that amazing fluting, and you can go check out the video he did yesterday too when he did the relief carving. Now, Diamond Core Tools is offering 10% off with the code ClayShareCon23, all capital, and you can save 10% off everything but the sink. I like to say everything but the kitchen sink, but it's the sink, C-I-N-K. Doesn't. Anyhow, they are brand new, and if you don't have them yet, this is your first chance to get them, and I think you should. I'm pretty excited about them. I'm going to have to get my hands on some of them too. Now, Diamond Core Tools is giving away a set of those new fluting tools tonight, so we'll be doing that in just a few minutes, actually, at 5:30. And then tomorrow we are going to be giving away the entire P series of Diamond Core Tools. That's 33 tools valued at almost $1,000. Tomorrow is the big day. We're giving away an L&L kiln. We're giving away a Speedball Artista wheel. We're giving away 33 Diamond Core tools. So you might not need 33 of them. That's a lot of tools, but you would be the king or queen of tools if you have them all. Or you could be very generous and share with friends. I'm your friend. You can join with me. No, I'm kidding. All right, so a huge thank you again to Diamond Core Tools and Nikolai and everybody there. Now we'll take a little break. We'll be right back at 5:30 for our giveaways of the day. If you want to enter our giveaways, go to clayshare.com and sign up for our email list. And that's how you're entered. Our premium members of ClayShare are automatically entered. You guys don't have to do anything at all. It's a done deal for you. You do not have to watch to win. We will email the winner and let them know they are a lucky, lucky person. So make sure you sign up for our emails to be eligible to win. All right, I'll see you all back here in just a few minutes.